had to die by violence. The Vedic Kshatriyas are trained up to stop violence by fighting against wrongdoers. That is required because we are in the material world. Therefore, Kṛṣṇa advises Arjuna that don't try to become non-violent, because then you will be disregarding your duty. Tasmad yudhyasva bharata. Therefore fight, descendant of Bharata. Don't think that by killing the body of your grandfather or your nephews and your brothers on the other side, they will be finished. No, they'll live. The body may be destroyed. Nahanyate hanyamane sharire. But the soul will just transmigrate to another body. Bhagavad-gītā 2:20. According to Vedic philosophy, if a Kshatriya dies honorably in battle, then he is immediately transferred to the heavenly planets, because he sacrifices his body for the right cause. In Vedic times, fighting was not a materialistic thing. War was declared only after much consideration, just like the fighting between the Kurus and the Pandavas. First of all, there was a great endeavor to stop the fight. Kṛṣṇa himself became the messenger and was going back and forth from one party to the other, because both the parties were Kṛṣṇa's family relatives. Kṛṣṇa tried to stop the misunderstanding and mitigate it by mutual settlement and negotiation, but it was not possible. Duryodhana's party finally said that we are not prepared to spare even a small piece of land which can hold the tip of a needle. Then it was decided there must be a fight. That fighting for religious principles was the purpose of the Kshatriyas. Formerly, there was no democracy, or so-called democracy. Vedic government meant that there was one king who ruled the entire planet. Now there are hundreds of countries and kings or rulers. Each one has to maintain a whole government. There are so many officers and executives, and all of them have to be sumptuously paid. So taxation of the citizens is required. In this age, Kali Yuga, people have rejected the Vedic monarchical system and accepted the so-called democratic system. But there is no real improvement because the state expenditure has increased so much that the people are overburdened with taxes. So Kṛṣṇa advises that tasmad yudhyasya bharata. Fight, Arjuna. Don't think that your grandfather or other relatives will be destroyed by fighting. It is not a fact that the soul is destroyed by destruction of the body. The purpose of this section of Bhagavad-gītā is to convince us that the soul always exists, even when the body is destroyed. Ya enam veti hantaram, yaschainam manyate hatam, ubhau tau na vijanito, nayam hanti nahanyate. He who thinks that the living entity is the slayer, or that he is slain, does not understand. One who is in knowledge knows that the self slays not, nor is slain. Bhagavad-gītā 2:19. This shloka is strikingly reminiscent of the opening lines of a poem by Ezra Pound. If the red slayer thinks he slays, or the slain thinks he is slain, he knows not the secret ways I keep and hide and turn again. Kṛṣṇa says, because the soul is immortal, eternal. Even if somebody kills someone, the body is destroyed, but the soul is not destroyed. So if one thinks that I have killed him, he's finished, he's foolish. And one who thinks that if I die in the fight, then I will be finished, he is also foolish. Both of them are ignorant. Ubhau tau na vijanito nayam hanti nahanyate. The living soul is never killed, neither he can kill others. For duty's sake, the Kshatriyas can kill, and there is no sin. That is called dharma yuddha, fighting by the order of the Supreme. Arjuna was fighting by the direct order of the Supreme Lord. For one who follows the principles of the Vedas, even if there is a fight, they follow religious principles. Either he kills or is killed, but in both ways he profits. Just like Kṛṣṇa advised Arjuna that, my dear Arjuna, why are you hesitating to fight? Either way, you'll be benefited. If you kill your enemies, then you get the kingdom and you enjoy. And if you are killed, then you are promoted to the heavenly planets. So where is your loss? A kshatriya who is fighting for a cause sanctioned by the dharma shastras profits either way. Na jayate mriyate va kadachin, nayang bhutva bhavita va na bhuyaha. Ajo nitya shasvato yang purano, na hanyate hanyamane sharire. For the soul there is never birth nor death, nor having once been does he ever cease to be. He is unborn, eternal, ever-existing, undying, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. Bhagavad-gītā 2:20. Do not think that the soul is ever born. No. As God is ever-existing, eternal, the soul is also ever-existing. There is no question of birth for the soul. And when there is no question of birth, there is also no question of death, because we experience that anything or anybody who has taken birth also dies. Nobody can live here in the material world forever. So if the soul has no birth, there is no question of death either. That does not mean that we can fight and kill people and think that we are justified by Bhagavad-gītā. That would be nonsense. Our duty as spiritual students is to become nonviolent. But Arjuna, as a member of the royal family, had to fight his relatives because they violated the strict rules of monarchical succession and had committed so many crimes in the name of state leadership. Arjuna is the perfect example of a king because he strictly followed the principles of truthfulness, dharma, and justice, and performed his duty according to the Vedic principles. Therefore, he is also the perfect student of Bhagavad-gītā. The real point here is that just as death of the material body is unavoidable, death of the soul is impossible. We do not die when the body dies. We go on to take another body. The quality of body we get in the next life depends upon our perfection of spiritual activities in this life. We should not fight against death when our time comes. Rather, we should accept and embrace death as a means to attaining our perfect spiritual body. So why do we struggle against death? Death of the physical body is inevitable. It's going to happen one day, one way or another, no matter what we do. We create so many problems for ourselves by fighting against death. When old age comes, when sickness comes, then we call in the doctors and we spend thousands and thousands of dollars, wasted actually, in tests and treatments, often quite toxic and invasive treatments that may leave us more debilitated than the disease itself. And in this way, we waste our final few days and weeks fighting against the inevitable, which is going to happen to the body because the body is born. Well, that which is born also dies. That which has a beginning also has an end. Krishna's whole point here is that the soul is never born and therefore never dies. No beginning, no end. Eternal life is already ours. So the question is, what are we going to do with this eternal life? Are we going to waste it in trying to attain opulence and sense gratification in this material world? Or are we going to utilize our life properly and attain spiritual knowledge in pursuit of our perfect spiritual body? We hope you've enjoyed this edition of Your Perfect Body. This is David Hughes, your host, reminding you to visit us on the web at esotericteaching.org, where you can purchase the complete Esoteric Teaching Introductory Seminar DVD and many CDs of transcendental music and mantras.